This is Lewis, just about to render a retaining wall. So I'm going to bead it, I'm going to first coat it today, and I'm going to come back tomorrow to top coat it. As you can see, there's a bit of waterproof in here, so I need to get a special render to go on top of it, which I've got, Set and Prep. So Set and Prep is a product where you can go over painted surfaces like old renders or waterproofing, and it sticks and it bonds to it really well. And then the top coat of render will just stick and bond to the Set and Prep quite easy. So I'm going to bead it all first. Beads are ready, just got to cut them down. Go over the waterproofing with the Set and Prep, and then I'm going to first coat it all today. Then I'll come back tomorrow, top coat it, derby, float, and then I'm going to sponge finish it because we're texturing this as well as texturing the full house once we get around to rendering that. But I'm just going to finish it with a sponge finish just so it looks like a little bit nicer until we get the rest of the house done, because we can just texture straight on top of that anyway, so it's no dramas. So let's get to it. Another trick you guys can do, if you've got a big long span of a wall like this, and you haven't got a straight edge or a level to go right across with it, you can get a string line. String line at one end, string line at the other, so you can run all the way down it and keep your beads nice and straight. It's not perfect, it's not going to be perfect in this amount of span, but you can get it pretty good with a string line, pretty straight. So there's another little trick you guys can do. I'm also going to put an expansion in this wall because it's over 6 meters, well over 6 meters, and the bricklayer didn't put an expansion in his brickwork. But I'm just going to cut one like halfway just with my render and just put a silicone joint down it, just allow for any movement just in case. But yeah, the bricklayer should have put an expansion in this size of the wall. So that's all the beading prepped. Gone over the back with the Set and Prep render over the waterproofing. As you can see, I've coated it all the way along there, so the render will stick to that good now. Beads are nice and plumb, level. Let that to set for an hour, then I'll give it a first coat. Beads will be still a little bit damp, but I'll just be gentle around the beads. Because you can do block work in one coat, but I found when you do that, it just ends up shrinking back, and then you end up seeing like the mortar joint lines in between it all. So I'd like to give it one coat first, give it 24 hours to dry, then come and top coat it. I find that way it just covers a lot better. So yeah, that's it all beaded. Pretty straight down there. It's not going to be perfect over that span, but it's not bad at all. Yeah, I'm going to let that dry for an hour, and then I'm going to first coat it, and it'll be finished tomorrow. So that's the first coat finished. Bead set today, done the first coat. Just giving it a quick float just to take off the high points. Gonna leave that to dry for 24 hours. Come back tomorrow for the top coat. Yep, she's all ready to go. So tomorrow I'm gonna float it and give it a sponge finish, just so it looks a little bit nicer. They're looking good. See you all tomorrow. So day 2 of the retaining wall. Beads are all set. First coat's nice and set. So I'm just going to top it today, finish it off, give it a derby, a float and a sponge finish. And that'll be it. Be ready for texturing in a few weeks. So I finished the top section and the back. So that's just your standard float and sponge finish. Nice and sharp, nice and neat. Looking good. So I'm just going to do the front section now, and then this little side panel, and that's it. Another job done. So this is the finished product. Beaded it, first coated it yesterday, top coated it today. Derby, float, sponge finish. Everything's clean and tidy. Beads nice and straight. Rendered the back, rendered the top. Went over the waterproofing with set and prep. Let that dry and went over it with normal render. It's looking good. So yeah, that's the finished product. I'm going to give it a few weeks, then it'll be ready for a coat of Troll-On texture. In any anytime you're rendering, guys, as well, what you want to do is you want to hose it with water for like 2 or 3 days. Obviously not the first day because the render's still going to be wet. Give it a damp with water tomorrow, and then like another 2 or 3 days following after that. Just helps the render to cure and set a lot harder. So it's good. Another job done.